Got it.
Yeah.
I'll be louder.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're a little mystified right now. Well, what then? Trying to keep it clean.
No! Yeah!
It's just,
Yeah!
the ice is curling way more.
Hard!
Yeah, so there was,
Yeah!
and it's a little quicker.
Yeah!
So we have
All the way! Yeah!
two
Whoa!
flashes, no, 3 flashes to draw through the house.
Good!
9-8, yeah.
10!
It's a little light.
Welcome everybody to St. Paul Cash Spiel. We're just starting our coverage here. We had to eat lunch.
Yeah.
I guess we had some audio problems, but I think we have it resolved. It's hard to tell because it's really complex apparently. It's got to connect to YouTube and et cetera, so.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm joined here up in the broadcast booth by Luke Violette and Violet.
8 on that.
I struggle with the name because
Okay.
I went through a whole pronunciation drill, and so we had a lot of great stories that you all missed. So yeah.
Yeah, we thought that the audio was going for the first end there, so we were just babbling away.
Yeah, there was some
Talking to
audio
ourselves.
from the skip mics that you guys missed out on, so that's good for them.
Yeah, well, glad to be here, and looks like we've had quite the first end and a half here. And now Katie's getting a chance to lay 2 here.
Line. House way. Right here is good.
So one challenge that these teams have had to face here this game is that the ice has been curling a good bit more than it has been this weekend so far. And we've seen a few flashed hits here already, and ice is also a little bit quicker, it seems, too, as they're having a tough time getting used to the paths changing.
Yeah, I'll try to get a time on it when I.
I wanted it even, but that's fine to maintain separation. I didn't want to come a little too high from T-line and have a simple double, you know? Yeah.
Yep, so in that last one there, Katie was trying to draw it even on the T-line there, but when they knew they didn't have the weight, as Cora was saying, they wanted to leave it higher so that the double was steeper rather than a natural flat if they would have kept sweeping.
Clean. That's good.
Yeah, having the mics on the ice is really interesting from watching perspective. I think it's fun how they negotiate.
So Maddie was able to hit that low one there and stack it a little bit higher. So now that when Katie hits and sticks here, the double will be fairly natural.
No, I didn't see that either. You're good. Yeah!
Sweeper's on it right away. Yeah, you can see it moving.
Yeah. That's really curling. A lot of rotation on that, too. Pretty good. She was trying to roll a little bit outside to make the double a little farther apart. But still got nose, which is plenty fine. It wouldn't have really made it any more difficult because they're not even quite going for it because they're so far apart at this point. So they're just going to try and roll a little bit closer now so that Cora's team will have to roll away from that considerably to not leave an easy double.
Crossing over the center line.
Yeah, but it's really moving over that center line. And they're just going to get nose there.
I just like nose.
It'll be interesting to see how the adjustments happen throughout the game, figuring that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Katie on her last one, she usually has quite a bit of rotation, but especially on her last one there, I think she added a little bit, which will help with that.
Yeah, I always wonder if that's a little extra complexity of throwing the rock that I can't deal with.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something at a high level that we try to kind of have in our toolkit and adjust when we go from competition to competition. If it's really swingy ice, we'll step up the rotation a little bit, shoot for about 3.5 to 4 rotations, and then on ice conditions that are really straight, we'll go like sometimes 2.5 rotations.
Yeah, I know you do it for that reasons. I do it if I tried to do that. It's like, do I want to fall over or not? So I just go for the same number of rotations. But I do go for the 3 to 4. That's what.
Yeah, that's about the right number to shoot for.
And I get yelled at from my skip because everybody in St. Paul, not everybody, but a lot of people are a lot less rotations.
Gotcha.
Alrighty. Yep.
Do you think I was hot? Oh.
Well, possibly either a little bit of an over-adjustment or a little bit of a straighter spot there. Cora did throw the weight she wanted to, and it's still just, as she's saying, it was just a little straighter than she thought. They did have one flash about in that same spot earlier this end, so that's a little bit confused, a little bit difficult to keep track of there, and especially seeing that conflicting results going to be, it's not the best for the confidence in terms of keeping track of the ice, but I think Cora threw that one really well, and they got a good read there, so they should know that that spot's going to be a little straighter.
Well, that reminds me, people probably don't know the games that are being played because I went through all this earlier.
I think she's just rolling out.
Yeah, it's still going to come on outside.
I don't think so. I want to.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just waiting for the. So on sheet 3, we have Jess Schultz and Rhyme.
Like a 9.5.
Schultz is in the yellow rocks.
No, I know.
McCormick and Brown are on 4. Brown's got the red rocks.
And then what are your rocks?
Bear and Farrell here on 5, and Bear's got the red rocks. And on 6 is Murray versus Bill Stapera. And Murray's got the red rocks.
Like, we kind of thought my times were wrong, but I don't think they are.
Yeah. So like an 80?
So back on our sheet there, we kind of had pretty much just about every miss has been tight over curling up until those last 2, and they both ran a little bit straight.
Yeah,
so
that's
now
different.
Cora's got the chance to just draw open paint here and get used to the draw weight on this side of the sheet.
I added. Yep.
Now they're really working.
Yep. Hard.
And you got to keep it going a little farther.
It's 14-4 between.
Yeah, it is slow there.
Yeah, but I think
What do we
that's
have?
seen a couple fewer draws on that side.
Okay. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
now it'll just be the simple throw through here for
She said it was around a 10.5.
Maddie.
Actually, threw
She's
what I
going to
wanted
try and
to.
take another look at this spot here that's been a little iffy.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We'll talk about
So
that.
Bill,
I thought she.
I was wondering about that when you throw through, if you choose spots to kind of learn a little bit.
100%.
Oh, that's what you meant.
At least that's definitely what the good teams do.
Maybe I misheard.
And
So what do you think they're going to learn from this?
well, they're going to see how it curls inside out here. They've been pretty much throwing them all outside in. And you can see that rock really moving already. So they know, oh, that's curling quite a bit. So now they know that if they have to ever throw a shot there, it's gonna move a lot.
I was tricked by my first.
That was a 9.5.
Surprised.
Lot of-
straight, especially
Okay,
A lot of rocks.
so now they're kind of talking. They're
right.
trying to throw a 9.5 there, which is
No, it
normal
looks
weight, and ended up being a 10.5. So that's part of why it curled so much, but it's still moving quite a bit. So they're definitely gonna pocket that information there, and we'll see if it comes back in play later in the game.
I'm really exact with getting times on those takeouts. And we'll
How do you keep track of all that
say
information?
those
I just,
takeouts, like, that was a
I don't think I could do that.
Good time.
It's not easy.
not
I guess you know what it is. It's the stuff that I'm keeping track of. You learned probably 10 years ago.
We'll kind of rain those
That's the
in all
difference.
7 or 8 times, so we're
Could be a little
seeing
bit,
on the takeouts.
but it can definitely be
Wait a
very.
minute, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Yeah. So you probably didn't learn what I know at 8. I'm assuming that I'm a better curler than you were when you were 8.
No promises there.
What?
My dad had me start when I was 4, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Well, not really, actually. He wanted me to start a little bit later, but I'd always go watch him play in the Super League games, and I was on my knees begging to go out on the ice. And he was like, well, might as well.
That answers another question I have. My daughter's 9, and she just started. She's been coming here for junior curling since she was 7 or 6 or 7. And I got her here for one time when she was 6, just so that if her name is ever up on any kind of thing, it could say that she's been curling since she's been 6. And she likes curling. She really likes coming here, but she doesn't have like a. I wonder, like, when you develop that competitive side where you're like, I really want to curl all the time, and I want to get a good team and do that. Like, I don't see that in her. Maybe it's. No.
So I played hockey until I was about 12 years old or so, and I liked hockey more than curling that whole time. I definitely wasn't really that competitive in the curling. Then all of a sudden I got an offer from an older team, Jake Vukic, Evan McCauley, and Nick Connolly, who was also here this weekend, to go play in this U18 competition in Toronto. And I was 11 at the time I got the invite, 12 at the time I went. And that year, so said yes to it, and then to prepare for that all year, we went and played in this league up in this Optimist Interclub League in BC. Every other weekend, we would play 2 10-end games throughout the year. And so the combination of playing in that league and then going to the U18 competition itself was just a lot of fun, and sold me right then and there on competitive curling. I never turned back from that. So a lot of it's, for me, was just that first actual championship competitive experience.
Yeah. But your dad's a really good curler.
He's not too bad. He's senior world champion.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're kind of brought up in that kind of household. Like, you know, my daughter is going to be brought up in a beer league curler. So she's going to be like, oh, I'm a good drinker.
Well,
which, you know, if you're going to pass one thing on to your kids, that might be it.
Oh no, you definitely don't have to have the world championship parent at all. Certainly Ben Richardson on our team, he's only been curling for like 5 or 6 years, and his grandma curled, but neither of his parents curl themselves, and he's kind of I guess not a first generation curler per se, but definitely didn't necessarily have that like household vibe his whole life.
How did he get into
growing
it
up? Like I said, his grandma had curled, and she kind of just suggested that he go, especially kind of like the Sydney Olympics. Kind of got reminded, hey, you should go check it out. There's this Granite Curling Club in Seattle, and Ben walked in the club, and
he's been a legend ever since.
Yep.
All right, so we kind of digressed from what was going on.
Yep. So looks like Team Farrell's got a couple rocks in the back house here, which is going to make it difficult to keep removing these corner guards. So Team Bear is just going to keep throwing up these corner guards until they get a flash or a jam in the back there, and then they'll go make their move. So that's a good one there. Those peels are never easy, especially that guard was nice and tight. She had to hit that fairly thin to not jam on the back.
2, 3.
Seemed like the girls were excited to have you up here.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. So I happened to play with Cora and Katie in the Youth Olympic Games on what's already been 2 years ago. Crazy how time flies. So we know each other pretty well, and these are both the junior women's high performance national teams here, and so we spend a lot of time with them and go to a lot of events with them. So.
Yeah, before you were talking to, I think you were talking to Kate. You guys were trying to figure out, like, oh, you're going to be in China. Well, I'm going to be in, Mozambique. I'm probably not going to see you again for another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
When we're curling in Malta.
8-5.
So yeah, the schedules couldn't quite work out as close as they normally do this year. But no, we'll definitely be, especially later in the year at the U.S. Open and the Nationals, we'll be seeing them quite a bit. And we're kind of on like a little bit opposite rotations here. So us and Team Bear are going to a lot of the same events, like the Ottawa Super Spiel at the end of the month, and China going to a men's and women's event there. Really looking forward to that event this year.
Fun.
And
I'm sure they fly you over first class.
We'll see about that, but they do fly us over.
You're pretty little though. I don't think first class wouldn't benefit you much.
don't have to have it, but it's still nice.
Yeah.
I get my upgrade on Delta every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably do rack up the miles.
Yep, we do.
Can people donate miles to you guys?
Yeah.
Because like I was just thinking, I'm not going to donate them to you, but I've got like 70,000 miles that,
It's a really complicated process, but it's happened before, for sure, and definitely really appreciate that. But
probably not
possible.
The most efficient use of money.
Yes,
but it's like free paper money, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no, we fly quite a bit. We try to fly the same airline and rack up the miles, rack up the status. So we're worth about get enough miles to have like a free flight a year, or
so are you
get a couple upgrades.
Your Delta?
Yeah, Delta's
silver, gold, platinum.
Just silver. Had a chance to go for gold this year, but I don't think I'm quite gonna get there. Graham's got the gold status though.
Oh. He did?
Yeah, he paid for it.
That was my, yes.
Andrew, do you want to jump on the mic? You guys can talk together about this game if you'd like. All right, we're going to get Andrew.
All right, Skipper's
Stapera
coming
here.
on the air here.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'll kick him off as soon as you give me the...
All right, welcome Andrew Stapera.
Oh, thanks, Luke. This is great. Great to be here.
I'll take it.
Yep.
What have I missed?
All right, so they tried to play a pretty conservative first end and ended up having the ice is growing a little more today, so they had a couple flashes and ended up having a missed blank attempt for a steal one in the first, and then ended up blanking the second.
Okay. Was it an intern? Those are the intern blanks?
Yeah, it was an intern blank.
That's the toughest shot.
Yeah, it is the
game.
toughest shot in the game. Just ask Andrew.
Oh yeah. It's my favorite shot too. Intern blank's tough. Outturn in-off is real easy though.
Yeah, really easy. Just look at our games against Brown yesterday.
And he made one too, so
Yep.
it definitely was easy.
No, yeah, when we played him in the first game, Andrew made a in-off double for two. One of the better shots I've ever seen. And then in our tiebreaker game, late in the night, in the same end actually, both in the third, or no, ours is in the fifth, right?
Yeah,
but,
I think so.
In the third end of the late night, Brown made an in-off to take two, which ended up being a pretty big shot for him. And speaking of Brown, over on sheet 4, looks like he rolled a little too far on a hit and roll attempt, and Heath McCormick is gonna have a hack waiter for what looks like 3.
Line is good.
Might be just
Right
the
here.
yellow. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right
It's a
here.
good game. A lot of good games.
Right here.
Yep.
Have a look. Yeah.
So looks like Katie's just trying to put this top 12 on the center line here.
Hard.
They gotta go hard to get it in the house.
Yeah, get it in. Yep, hard.
Look on the camera.
Look,
I don't mind
You have a better angle than I do.
we don't
It's
have the
not
best.
on, but it's pretty tight. You feel like coming
Maddie
on?
answered that for us. It's not quite on, but
I
it is
get-
a very tight center guard that's going to bring play to the center of the sheet here.
Could play this more conservative and hit the one in the back, but definitely going for it.
That's what Andrew would call it.
Ah.
Yeah, so definitely on the aggressive side here.
5.
Well, they're not on it early, so good indication it could be on the heavy side. As I was saying, over on sheet 4, Heath McCormick makes the shot for 3. So that score is 3-0 after 2.
I don't know if they were playing the hit, but they kind of
Yeah,
They looked like they played the
must have
shot.
heard you there. So
They probably got the stream going on the ice.
yeah.
That's all right.
I like 9-5.
One of the best we played on so far this week.
So looks like they're not going to be able to keep both their yellows in the house, but they're not going to really care if they lose their back one. But I think they're going to try and roll under a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
not
Nose or a roll in.
Yep. Nose are rolling.
It's always exciting having these two teams play.
Oh yeah. So definitely with them being the two
9-5.
high performance
Nose or
national
roll
teams.
in
Yeah, it
is
was.
good.
It is pretty much a rematch of last year's national junior final.
Notice that halfway through the sun.
So they're always going to have that little bit of extra intensity. But this is already this is already about what, the third matchup they've had this year?
Done it for me.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Or
I think
at
so.
least the third. Could have been the fourth. They played. This is the second time they've played.
Dave's given us the three.
Dave's given us
on
the
the side.
This is the second time they've played this weekend, and they played in the first Spiel of the year up in Ontario.
I think they it's a season series is split right now. So
Yep, it is split.
always a good matchup.
So this is for the one
Part
up
of me
on
still
the
likes the
season
draw.
series,
Do you mind it? Let's do it.
and
That's okay.
a little bit of cash, if I'm not mistaken.
Looks like they're playing the draw again. Could hit.
Yeah, could hit and keep the blank chances alive, but they are electing to draw.
It's fine.
Feel like we just threw it. Let's do it again. I'd love a time.
Now, if the same thing
90?
happens as last time and they get a little heavy into our
Yeah.
outside, they can
figured-
just
do you
sweep
know what Ann threw on
to
her
the
last
back one, and
But
like they did there, and then
It's
that freeze
different.
is going to put Cora in a little bit of a tough spot there.
You are
No,
playing a
we've heard
little
of
bit.
it. That's
It's a pretty aggressive call.
It is a really aggressive call, especially in the third end. A lot of teams here would have no problem just hitting and rolling open and trying to get their blank here and bring hammer into even ends in the fourth.
Wait on me!
Hitting a lots of room call from the house.
Jenna! Hard! Jenna! Go, Jenna! Go!
And they weren't quite able to finish
That's
it
right.
to buried.
Thanks.
So Cora's got a chance to lay two here. Now this can get a little bit
no,
dangerous.
but I'm saying like this.
Definitely don't want to get too close to nose and jam it.
Yeah, for sure.
So tendency here is to
Yeah,
sometimes play it a little
solid
too
right
safe
there.
and roll out, but definitely a big shot if she can keep it on the rings.
Either
and
way, here, I'll have an
make
open
Maddie
draw.
draw or
Right
hit
there
against
would be
two.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the main goal is lay two. Doesn't really matter where.
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
obviously.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I don't think Maddie's gonna play the
Okay,
slash double
95.
for the blank. She
No.
could, but especially after her
High
last
side.
call, I don't
You'd
think.
like the slash double. You'd be
You
playing.
would like the slash double. You've called those quite a bit.
I know. Coach doesn't like it that much when we play
No.
those. He gets a little worried.
Yeah, but I don't think
It's
you've really
adorable.
missed one though. So
I'll take it.
yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll hit on the high side, so pro side miss if you will, but it is going to
All right.
leave Maddie the chance for another blank.
Not really.
And
I think we can set it
Cora
up. We're just not
listening to me
setting it
there.
up yet.
Yeah,
Let's
it
go.
looks like
Just,
she
I just want to
maybe
throw 10
overthrew
here.
it that time, but as
I
you
mean-
said, you can't
We'll roll it
throw
out.
too soft.
If we end up
Exactly.
Shame it
sticking, we
right
get our
back.
one.
Exactly.
Felt like it anyway.
especially with the lead there, definitely don't want to take the risk of that jam.
They didn't. They said 9-5.
I really just want to throw like a 10 here.
Not sure
I
if this
think
is
we can
quite as
roll it
exciting
out
for
so
the
it doesn't
viewers. We
take
seem to
much,
stick into a lot of curling.
Yeah.
Keep it
You know.
better.
Yeah, sorry we're not talking
And if
about
we end up
beer
sticking,
as
we get our
much,
point.
but,
Let's start
I
flashing
don't know.
out.
I just showed up and
Yeah.
made a comment to Luke and somehow got on the mic. I don't even know what happened. So it's just been a flash.
Gosh, I was hot. But I was.
Oh yeah, so over on sheet 6, our coach Mark Lazar is playing. Fortunately, they didn't get off to a very good start. Team Murray is They took 2 in the first end and stole 1 to go in the second to go up 3-0. And looks like we have a nose on the blank attempt here, so it's going to be a 1-1 game.
That was an 8-7.
And Cor Farrell is going to have
do you
a
think that was
hammer
like a 10?
coming in the fourth, an even end.
That's fine.
So important there for the late game strategy.
Do you have a time?
Now, back to my interlude on sheet 6.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good end.
Tyler George
Good.
is
Start fresh.
I like
You guys like trying to set her up though? Let's
Get
do
a
it. Let's
solid
get a
corner.
good aggressive here.
playing hit and stick.
we
Just
go.
made it.
Start strong.
So it looks like Murray's going to have a chance to hit and roll under a guard and make Tyler draw close to
Reset.
button for his 1 point.
Good job, guys.
You know, we having to play. Well, we played 6 games this weekend. We didn't really get to see Mark play, so
Yeah.
it's always good to. You know, we need to keep a couple things because. You know, Autumn. You know, maybe he'll trip and fall while sweeping, or
Yeah. So we
short
don't
a guard, short a draw to the 4-foot or something.
we don't get to watch Coach play very much, but last time was probably at this Spiel last year, and I think I lost my gripper or accidentally traded it with someone else, and it was a little big, and I think Mark and I were sharing a gripper or something because I got new shoes, so he ended up with like a slightly bigger gripper than normal, and well, it kind of slipped, and he had a little bit of a tumble.
Gotta go then.
So haven't had that happen this time, but always good to keep Coach honest there.
I heard you guys needed some help talking about beer.
Beer? Never.
What's that?
Yeah, what is that?
So
I guess he doesn't know.
yeah, actually, a very interesting development of events on Coach's sheet. Sean Murray ended up flashing a hit and stick there. So looks like Tyler George is going to have a draw for 2.
Mine is good.
See, it doesn't really matter where he throws it because, you know, miss or make, it's all Mark's sweeping. And Dean too. I'll give Dean credit, but you know.
If you ever want to learn how to brush like a badass, feel free to take a look at Dean Gemmel's book.
We had Dean on earlier, and he went through a whole list of things that he's selling and services. It was like a checklist. There was like 20 things. And I told people, I'm like, all you have to do is have him send you an email. He's got it all in his signature line.
Yeah.
In his email.
Well, I guess it worked because they just made their draw for 2.
He's a comedian, wrote a couple books.
Yeah, he's
a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah, he's got quite a lot going on.
He was talking, he's got this good friend who invented the Marco hack.
Oh, yeah,
Marco Ferraro or Ferreira, who died of brain cancer. And I said, oh, you know, I was reading Marco's obituary, and there was one thing I liked about it. And he said, I wrote it.
Oh,
so he also writes obituaries.
Unfortunate that he passed, but I think Dean and I don't know if it was the early 90s went to the Briar.
Yep, that's true. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
That's solid.
That's like a big bond Spiel in Canada, right?
Good
Not
line.
too bad.
Yep.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it good.
Like you can just, the rock's not behind her body.
We're over
So
curling.
Cora is electing to throw
Yeah,
up a
right
corner
here,
guard
guys.
on that rock they have in the back of the house now. And it looks like that's coming
How do you
down
like it?
nicely.
Just feeling. We can get around. Let's come this way.
So
If we
now
clip the
Maddie's
guard, we
team's
clip it.
discussing whether or not they want to come around
Why
it
don't
or
we
peel
start-
it.
You're right.
May have enough on the on the outside.
You just like straight
play
peel?
board, but it's probably a little more
Peel!
risk than you'd want.
Yeah. So they are electing to play the peel. Now, one thing we might do differently here is throw it on the other side of the rock so that it's a shorter distance to roll out, and if you happen throw it a little wide like I might have in a national final once, you might pick out your back one.
Yeah, sometimes.
Very nice, John.
Yeah, I don't know.
7-2.
Andrew, your dad just made a call
I like to put
to the
it
back of the
back.
house to get a whiskey. I noticed he did the old hand, like, I don't know what he wanted, but water, whiskey.
No, I thought the game was going a little better. They just got
Here we
2.
go.
I mean,
You got it.
it's a little early. I mean,
So that was a successful peel on the corner guard there. And Anna O'Hara is just going to throw another one right back up.
She's subbing for Lexi.
Yep, so they got the super sub in for this week. And Lexi Lanigan, their normal player on the team, happens to be at the Mixed World Championships right now, along with Caleb Clausen from our team.
Make sure we're in our,
Watching them out there, I think they're two fairly easy wins to start the Spiel.
Yep, and then I saw right before I got on the stream, they were in a close game with China. I'm not 100% sure how that went. Maybe someone on the stream that was following along could comment that result. But wishing the best for them there. We're missing Caleb this weekend as well.
Caleb actually just wrote to us.
What
Means their game's over. Didn't write about the result, but he heard you talking about your Delta upgrades, and he told you to focus up. No one really wants to hear you talking about that.
Thanks for the advice, Caleb.
Shoot, that backed up. Good call. Sorry, Doug.
I think you might want to tell Caleb to stick to curling. We know what we're doing up here in commentating.
Yeah, I know.
land.
I mean,
Shoot.
Still like to do this.
I thought we were almost on nose. Yes.
not really sure what the call there is. I saw the motion for the hit and roll, which kind of surprised me,
it's like
considering
backing up.
that rock did slip into the rings and they could have played the double.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much the hit and roll gets you, because at this point you're trying to, make a double and get out of the end with a blank.
Yep, 100% there.
Either way, a mistake there.
Yep, so now Anna's going to get another go at this corner guard.
Looks like it's a
Right
little
here.
heavy.
with the hacker board weight. But they are electing with
Tighten up just a
the
touch.
freeze. Now the hard part about this shot is that if you throw it to
All right, just
get
down to
buried,
it.
you're not
They're
shot.
behind
So
you,
you
so you
have
can
to
sit
stay
right
on the high side of this yellow stone here in order to stay shot. So
Do you have an idea?
it's always tough to take enough ice on these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is really risky though, because like I mentioned, if she does over curl a little bit so that that yellow stone is just shot, then Cora will be able to come down and corner freeze on Maddie's stone and lay pretty much two
Easy.
frozen and buried, and will be sitting really good for
Go
a
if you
3.
need to.
So really
Go if you
critical
need to.
shot here to stay on the high side of this.
Well then.
Can't really be heavy
Whoa.
too. Short is way high
Whoa.
side, way pro side here. Probably force him to
Come
draw
on.
open, but
Oh, you're good.
doesn't look like this would be that great.
Now, does kind of get a little
alright.
bit buried behind there. So
Right
now,
here.
because it is gonna shorten the rings a little bit for Cora
know,
here
that's
when
what
she
I was
wants to come around this.
Fancy.
Because of that rock,
If I go
she's
up
got to
here, she can just do the
make it a
same.
little better than she would have if it kind of just rolled in the open and she can hit and roll under.
Well, we would leave a double.
Could just say right now,
Try to get
let's
it
draw
tighter.
open side, take
Yep.
our deuce.
Absolutely.
But I don't mind the aggressive call of going under. Brings a 3 in play. Not a huge risk of getting forced unless you chap off.
Yep.
Yeah. 'Cause I thought
And
you
even if you were to get forced, you still have total control of the game pretty much at this point with
It's alright,
being
next
up
one.
1
I
and
think they can
with
hold
hammer
it
and the
straight.
even ends.
but
I'd
yeah, just full
definitely
8 foot here.
have no problem with
At
them
least partially
trying to get their
buried.
3 here. And a lot of times even
Shoot, that was
you
pretty
look
good
at the
though.
degree of
I like the line.
difficulty and it's really about the same to draw into the corner guard or draw perfectly.
Okay, so you guys
But
should
even
know the
so, I
Even
mean, a
on the
little
open
tap there,
side.
as long as we get to the
And,
face of it, it's fine.
Hold it straight if
The
you
reward
can.
for going into the corner guard is
We
3
want to partially bury
versus
it
just
and be
2
full top
to
eight
go
foot,
open
okay?
side.
What was Kate's time?
Except for the first one. And then we kind of.
Okay, so it's a quick path.
That's alright.
I'll feel the
So talking
Let's get
about
through this one and we
their
gotta
experience from throwing the corner guards as well as looking at Maddie's last one here. They
We gotta
feel
get a
that this
good
is a
weight, too.
pretty quick path, maybe even the quickest on the sheet.
And a
there.
good feel. I mean, they told me about 90 on that. I don't know
Not
what
sure
I
if you
threw,
timed any, but we found that, that night draw
Down the
was
center.
kind of surprising to us. Was significantly faster than any other draw.
Yeah,
She's lighted also
that,
get
that
me.
is usually the opposite of how it normally goes. But the ice makers sometimes like to change things a little bit come playoff day as well. And this rock is really curling. So now they lay off a bit now. They
Same thing.
would have liked to bounce that a little more to possibly cover their
I like the
back
same
one
thing, I
a
just
little
threw it.
better.
kind of light.
But Maddie's still just gonna throw the draw again because she's a little more comfortable because she just threw it. But if she could see a little more, she might decide to just go ahead and play a hack
Like the
waiter
same
at
weight?
that and
Just a
lie to
touch
2.
less, maybe? No? Okay.
Not really sure how much
I'll
you
make
can
it good
see here. It
I
doesn't
don't
look
think
like
she
a
really
ton.
has
Yeah,
much. I
that's
think
out.
that
I mean, they're all pretty
Cora's last rock there is covering a good bit more of that rock than it had covered before.
Okay.
So especially since she just threw it, she's very confident in her choice to play the freeze here.
Yeah. Weight comes off.
She said she threw it 90 last time.
Stay
Fortunately,
close!
we don't have the front enders mic, so
Really
we
gotta
don't know
go!
what this time is at this
Whoa,
point.
whoa,
It looks
whoa!
heavy though, but it's also tight, so they
Whoa!
might be able to get a good bump out of this and still have a good shot. They go hard in the back one. That's really close.
If I was a betting man, I'd say looks like yellow is second
But
shot.
trouble is,
that
Does,
was
but there is the
Felt like
nose
that was a lot
double.
more coming out too.
So
like to
and
play
they
9-5.
still
probably don't really want to necessarily
not an
hit it
easy
somewhere
shot,
other than
but-
nose anyway, so it looks
Yeah.
like she's pretty much just going to play the nose double regardless of
That's right.
who's closer,
Yeah.
but it
Got
it
definitely
out
looks
there.
like yellow.
Good way to wait on that one too, guys. Like, no, this. I mean,
Have
it's
to play the out
really
turn here
tricky.
to
Oh.
Yep, she
This
doesn't
is
want
really
to
tricky
cut it
ways
too
to
close to
get
the
a good
guard
read
with
on
the
for,
intern.
broom
It's
calls
also
too,
just
so I'm
it's
up there
very
kinda
visually
like-
difficult.
you
Definitely
probably
Now-
just jam it with the
It's a
intern
lot quicker
too,
than we played on
very
yet.
easily.
Now, I'm not sure if the audio was working at this point, but back in the second end when Maddie was throwing through for her blank, she decided to throw her throw through really close to here and noticed that it curled a lot. So we'll see if Cora was able to learn anything from that throw through here.
Put Ian in a good mood.
Need to get just off nose on the low side, so let it work to start, okay?
Put Ian in a good mood.
Yeah, so because they have to curl quite a bit here, she's just making sure sweepers are to be patient to start.
Allison's. I think she wanted one.
Don't push it a little too far outside early in the shot. Okay, conflicting line calls early here.
Curl! Whoa! Curl!
Really close. That will be good. That's 2 points there for Team Farrell. So they will take a 3-1 lead after 4.
Why did you say whoa to start? Yeah, I did. Okay.
Now
all right, that was
over
fine.
on
I mean,
sheet
I threw that last
6.
one a little hot.
Looks like Team Tyler George / Tapera is sitting 2 in top 12, top 8 foot. And I think rather than playing the draw for 1, Sean Murray is going to try the double for the blank.
Good start, guys.
It's an inside double, so they have to hit it and wheel up and out to get the blank. Now the hard part about these ones is hitting the second rock hard enough so it goes all the way out.
Does not look like the toughest shot if you throw it hard enough.
But could be slightly risky. So he's a little inside to start. They're on it all the way. And he only gets 1, so it's going to be a steal of 1 for Team Bill Stapera. That will tie the game up at 3 apiece after 4 ends.
Line is good. 7 or 6. Just a 6.
Nice shot over on 4.
Let it come down then.
Rips the center guard into the biter on the wing.
Yep, so at this point, Team Craig Brown is going pretty hard for their steal in the 4th end. So they got 1 top 4 foot, and they're throwing up a guard on that right now, and those would be the only rocks in play. Now back over on our sheet, it looks like the first rock slipped back 4 foot, which isn't ideal, but especially with a 2-point lead, it's definitely not the end of the world. Pretty important corner guard here if they want to be able to get aggressive this end. Sweepers are off it, but it looks like it's digging pretty hard.
There we go.
So Maddie
No,
says,
that's good. We're good.
there we go. So
we're good.
Looks like it's a made one there.
Real nice, Al. Great weight.
Our lead Graham would say that's a 4 out of 4 back 4. He likes to throw it there when we're winning.
Yep, he definitely does, but there's nothing wrong with that because you just can't be light when you're ahead. So being in the back of the house is definitely not the end of the world.
Line is good. Right here.
All right, back on sheet 4, Richie just makes the single peel, and so Craig Brown's going to throw another center guard, and if the end plays out, Peter is going to have to draw just about full 4 foot for their single point, unless he elects to try the run back with the blank.
I don't mind a center guard. Okay.
We like to talk a lot about how looking at rocks and say, like, is that a steal?
Your call, yep, line's tight.
So
gotta go.
one biting the 4 foot isn't,
Gotta
you know,
go.
could have been, a hair deeper, make it a hair tougher, but this point in the end, there's really not enough around, and if you just tap it, probably leaves them an easier shot. So.
Exactly. So, and especially since they're only down 1 point, and it's still only the fourth end, getting a force here is definitely nothing wrong with that. And it is in the 4-foot though, so you know, full 4-foot with side full 4-foot still is never a gimme. Especially not on championship ice. Now the guard is gonna slip into the rings, so it looks like Heater's gonna have a fairly makeable double, but the odds are he will leave a shooter around for Craig to draw around and still get a force perhaps.
Yeah, and right now a force is fine. I mean, there's still 3 ends to go after this one. If you're down 2, you know, you have to play an almost perfect game if you don't want to steal to win the game. But still a lot of curling, so you don't have to go all out for the steal right now.
As long as you can play the take 2 force 1 and strategy and still win the game, you're pretty much in control of your own destiny per se, and that's right about where Brown is. So it looks like Cora's just going to peel out that rock that was open on the wing there, and Jenna Bercheski is going to get another chance to come around that corner guard.
Looks close.
Yep.
And Heath
McCormick
almost makes the double.
Line's good. Line's good.
The top rock is still in the full 12-foot. So now, a really good chance for pretty much a guaranteed force here for Craig Brown, and there's still a rock close to the center line they can steal around.
Seven. Oh, I kept hearing 7.
Dave just told us to watch the sweep
I
clinic. I don't know if it was
anyway.
Cora pounding it for the last 6 feet.
Oh no. So we got our coach and Andrew's dad over there on sheet 6, really working hard on one. Mark looks a little gassed out there. I don't know if coaching's been too good for the cardio.
Good sweeping. 7-8, it's good.
Just water.
Yep.
2, 3.
Yep, so Dave also commenting on the numerous sponsors on the jackets of Team Stapera, and they are not sweeping awards, rather they are micro sponsors. A very strategic sponsoring strategy that they used in the 2015 National Championship.
Really great weight, Jen.
Slightly against the rules, so they had to tape over all of their sponsors with very colorful tape.
I think they did end up changing a rule almost, though. So.
Yep, that was
like just outside the center line. And I'm giving
very fun nationals. Andrew and I played in that with Corey Dropkin, and that is also the famous nationals for Bucket Gate, if you will, where we were playing a game and there was a leak right in the middle of the house. So ice maker Dave Stavitek had to literally hold a bucket over us as we played the game.
I don't mind taking less with
I think I was waiting for someone to draw under the bucket, see what happens.
Yeah, almost did that. I was actually the first player that had to slide with the bucket in play. It was about, I want to say, like the 4th end or so that it became an issue. Now, also, so that was a pretty fun nationals for us.
Made our way into an interesting 4 and 5
yes,
4-way tiebreaker.
Another, there was a 4-way tiebreaker. So it is possible to get in the playoffs and nationals with a losing record.
I think that at least one other team could have been 4 and 5 in it.
Yeah, I think there could have even been another one. I think Pustavar was close.
Yes! Yes!
So this end is cleared out quite a bit. And it looks like
Whoa.
Maddie's going to try and position for another blank
Up.
here.
Get away.
You can, you know, a lot of curling is playing with the scoreboard, and I know they're down 2, but a blank in 5 isn't too bad. I mean,
9-5.
you know, you'll never always take your 2, but you get hammer in the evens, you take 2, force 1, and you have a chance to win the game.
Like
in
we were
8.
talking about in the Heath McCormick Brown game, as long as you can just take 2, force 1, you're kind of in control in your destiny. And if she was to blank this end, she could take 2 in the 6th end to tie it up at 3, force 1 in the 7th, and then take 2 to win in the 8th end.
I kind of missed what happened in the Brown game, but it looks like they did steal.
It looks like Brown stole. I'm not sure how many, but I can't believe it's more than 1.
9-4.
So while we wait for Brownie to post a score here, we will let you know as soon as he does.
corner?
But our guess is
Spot,
that
come
it
here.
is a 3-3 game after 4.
Let's go here.
That's what that yellow.
7.
Okay. You feel like you tossed it out at all?
Should we give an update to sheet 3? I don't know if you can see the score, but we
I
haven't talked
can't
about it
quite.
much. Looks like red is 3. I think it's a 3-1 game.
Okay.
Not sure who's
Hold
who.
tight. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like I think Team Rhyme is up 2 with the hammer in the 3rd end. In the 4th end, sorry.
Sit up.
We're kind of blocked by some beams on the ice. Can't really see too much what's going on. Looks like a good game.
Yeah.
Good way, Dan.
I like nose. Maybe this way, yeah. I would like that.
So Cora's deciding to roll inside here rather than out. Now with
Oh, we're just
that
going T-line.
rock that's just out of the rings, there's always the possibility she could try to like hit and roll on top of it to frozen, make things
Not
just
bad.
a
She's
little
gonna try
bit
to roll
tougher
in
for
and
Maddie.
make it
But she's deciding to just play it safe, roll to the
Saw
center of the
5 a
sheet.
little
They
roll your
haven't
way.
caught many in the
Becca,
Roxy
nice.
Could make the blank a little interesting if you get them, you know, frozen or partially frozen on that Yellowstone.
Yep,
It's a safety hazard.
and especially since it's so far out on the wing, it's always tough to make those shots when it's a little bit slower out in the frost and you haven't seen that track as much.
Did you?
Now, over on sheet 6, the tide of the game has definitely
Clutch.
kind
Actually, I
of
think I saw that.
turned towards Bill Stapera and Tyler Jordan's
I don't really know what you were
favor,
doing, but I saw a
as
leg
they're
go
now
out.
sitting 3. Not really much of a
Your
chance
breath
to
smells
steal,
like
but
that.
definitely looking really
Yeah,
good
thanks
for
telling
a
the whole
force
live
here in
stream
the
that.
5th
It wasn't
end.
even me.
Oh, they called a blow. Now they got to go hard here to stick this in.
But you know.
And it's just going to barely over curl.
Yeah, same thing.
So
I actually don't mind getting a little closer to it this time.
now they're going to try and they're thinking about trying to freeze here, but they're definitely playing on the safer side. That's a lot of ice to get all the way out there. So, but just
Alright,
even
I'm just
putting
gonna
it
go
kind of
upfield here,
close to
pretty
there,
fast.
as long as it's top house, it just kind of
Give it to ya.
adds another dimension of the shot for Cora, because she has to hit it on the high side,
Try to
not
get
to
a
jam
down
it.
2 on this one. On Ands, you're just going like T-line.
Plus,
which
you
is
hope
good.
that, you know, maybe just get a roll out
one
and
let's
throw
try
it
to-
through rather
Yep.
than having to make the blank.
100% there. Those, as Andrew knows, those intern blank outs can be difficult shots.
Probably an outrun, so it's, you know, just a gimme.
Yeah.
Apparently, we have listeners from the North Pole,
Good. Felt good.
North Pole.
Fairbanks. It says Fairbanks,
Oh.
Alaska
Easy
/
work.
the North Pole.
Get it there.
Awesome.
Get it there. Get it there.
Two different folk. So
Yep, so Cora and Anna are from up there. They
You got it. You
used
got it.
to
Looking good. Looks
play
real
together in juniors.
Good. Great sweep, guys.
Trying to think,
Great sweep.
2 or 3 years I
Good
think they played together.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Cora, was she 18?
Yeah.
I think she, I mean, I remember
They
her
just
being
have
at
to stay on
Nationals
it.
in at least, what, 5 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think, pretty sure her first
it's a little wide
nationals
open.
was in, same as you, Andrew, in
Yeah.
2013,
Yeah,
Boston.
a little inside
5
center line.
again.
That was,
Boston.
Just a little bit.
yep,
Yeah.
that was a fun year. We beat Andrew in the semifinal there to
Stay nose.
go lose to Corey
I'm gonna start
Dropkin in
just
the
going
final.
upfield more.
Andrew's not too happy about that game. We might have stole 4 in the ninth.
Still bitter.
I think they're gonna tell me 90-ish.
While I was away from the mic, I went downstairs and talked to your coach and your dad, and I could not get a waiver to allow the club to serve you a pitcher of beer. So I apologize for that, but I got myself a pitcher of beer.
That's always nice. I mean, we would never want any. So
Yeah.
you
No,
didn't even
why
need to
would you?
ask.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
why
mean-
would you want that?
Good job, guys.
You have rules against that, though, right? Well, I mean, there's an age issue for Luke. You're 21, aren't you?
20. Just turned 20, so I
It's
got
an easy
about a
way
year
here.
left.
Maybe outside.
Well, don't start drinking beer. It'll ruin your physique.
Yeah, I thought I was close still.
But it
Right.
does improve your attitude.
Yeah, we're tip-top shape athletes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Maybe we could have had them cleaning it.
Yeah, I did say clean.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yep, so Cora's able to hit and stick.
Yeah.
Kind of close to that back one, but it's really not in play at all when Maddie throws this blank out here. But we are getting out quite to the wing in the sheet, and it's always hard to get all the way out there. And it looks a little tight, so I think she's going to try and play it on the inside, which is...
They're trying to blank, weren't they?
Looks like it'll be a hit and roll for one.
Yep.
Not exactly. Don't think that's what she wanted.
No.
Sorry, I got really worried I was about to jump and roll out. Kind of looked like I was about to go.
That back rock kind of does come into play, not necessarily physically, but certainly just adds that extra mental obstacle that I think she might have been trying to even play that on the inside because she didn't want to have to go so far outside there on the wing, not knowing the ice as well.
Nice
Yeah.
double peel.
Yep, on
Run
sheet
back
4,
on sheet
Croy Nurnberger almost makes what, a triple peel, something like that.
Yeah.
One sits in the back 12 foot, but it definitely opens
Played
things
our
up
strategy,
quite a
guys.
bit. Still have not had a posted score from the last end, but like I said, guessing a steal of 1. And over on sheet 6, it looks like, pretty sure it's last draw. Can't great look over the glass to see for sure, but I think Sean Murray is drawing against 2 rocks and a 12 foot for his single point in the 5th end. Just has to touch 8 foot.
Little tight, little tight.
A little tight out of hand. Maddie's still on her sweepers, so it looks like they're going to keep Jenna on the rock and try and sweep hard as they can early. It also looks a little light, so they really got to go to get this one over.
Everything you got, everything
With
you
the
got.
the
Get her over, get her
forced
over,
last
get her
end,
over,
they
get
really
her
need a
over.
steal. Well, not really need a steal, but they definitely could use one this end. And a little bit of a celebration there because that is a really important shot to get that
2
over.
of them in 1 weekend.
Apparently, it's not the first time it's happened, but that's actually a just about perfect shot. It does still stay on the center line. It's as high as possible, so they're going to be able to throw a tight guard and have a ton of separation, making the double peel nearly impossible.
Yeah, you have no idea how high we can get.
Good line.
Right here.
Interesting
So
call
yeah,
for the
I'm a
corner.
little surprised
Have
at
a
this.
look.
Cora's going for the corner guard.
Right here. On
Really
finish.
wants her deuce this end.
Yep, make it good.
Now,
Yep,
it is definitely
Anna.
a very aggressive
Yep.
call. If
Yep.
she just posts,
Yep,
usually
yep.
our goal in this point, Andrew,
Pretty
would be to get a single point, make sure we just score this end.
2,
Have-
3.
Keep a 2-point lead and hammer in the even ends to come home in the 8th end.
Yeah, I mean, even if you blank, it's fine too.
Yeah,
Just
blank's obviously really good as well.
Don't give it. A steal is.
Yeah, you just
Really
can't
what-
afford to give up the steal here.
Plus, it's a little interesting considering that that center guard is so high that I
Yeah.
don't. It's a really hard shot to get
looks
around
like,
it.
Yeah, it's a pick right there. Unfortunate turn of events. Now, if it was to hit this rock on the nose, it would be in play,
Over
Looks
up.
like it's just.
but it's just gonna kind
Just throw that little light.
of. I don't think so. That looked like a pick to me. Looked like she threw it pretty clean, and then it just made a real sudden move right where Katie is. Katie definitely thinks it's a pick because she's cleaning that line quite vigorously.
So a tough little shot right here.
Deep breath.
Got to squeak both guards. If you do rub off the center guard, it's not bad. It's almost like a tick. You probably roll both of them to corner guards. So some good things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a little tight from the bat, but Ann just said it was light and it just kind of went.
So Team Bear doesn't think it picked.
Make it curl.
Regardless here, it looks like a little light on the come around attempt, and we suddenly have 4 guards in play. So probably not going to see a blank this end, but you never know. So now Maddie's got a chance to get a good rock in the house here.
This is kind of what, you know, throwing those corner guards and not going under the center, or you know, keeping it more open gets you. Is, you know, even though you may have just missed the last one or had an unfortunate pick, you still have a chance to, you know, force one steal with a good shot right here around the center guard.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if Cora had maybe gone in or
we're hot.
tried to tick on those 2
bury.
rocks, there'd really just be that one center guard that would be getting peeled out right now.
Good.
So, pretty good shot, has good control of the 4-foot, but as Andrew said, at this point in the game, you're kind of looking for steal rocks, and the odds are that rock just in the 8-foot, usually you want that kind of touching a button or full 4-foot if you want to be able to steal with it, but at the same time, with all the corner guards, there really isn't a whole lot of a draw path anyways.
On one of those, we might think that center guard is so high. You know, it's, I mean, especially on championship ice where you get the huge swing and the late finish, that rock's almost not even a guard. You can play board around that stone and pretty much hit anything if you see any piece. So could think about throwing like a 3 guard, letting them rip the center one, and then have a better guard to draw around for your steal.
Yep, so that's what I was thinking as well. And as you'll see, as you have a chance of that board waiter right now, she might have just been afraid that because there's so many corner guards, Cora could beat her around at that point and have a good chance at a 2 or a 3. But she does select to come in the house, and
pretty good.
That's a really nice shot by Anna O'Hara.
11.
Now, pretty much gonna have a deuce in play all end at this point here, and it's just gonna be Maddie doing what she can to go get her steal.
Yeah, it's one of those ends where it's, you know, could be a big end if Bear doesn't get one good. Gotta make one really good to.
Yep, and especially at this point in the game, getting a 2 in this game makes things very difficult for Team Bear coming down the stretch, and getting a 3 could, obviously anything can happen in this game, but could mean pretty much the game is over at that point. It's really hard to come back from a 4-point deficit with only 2 ends to play.
Can you stay down here for a minute?
So definitely, if you're Team Bear, you're doing whatever you can to keep 3 off the board. But with that rock behind 2 corner guards, they can't really bail out of this end at this point. Their only hope is to kind of go aggressive and try and get their steal. Now back over on sheet 4, the score has been posted. It was a steal of 1 for Team Brown last end, and looks like there are shots back 4 foot behind a center guard, and it skips Heath McCormick's first rock at this point, and they're debating whether or not they play with freeze or peel here. Back on sheet 6, Sean Murray did make his draw for 1, so it is 4-3 after 5, and
looks like
Andrew's
really
dad's gonna have and it does catch a piece. So now, especially with 2 rocks in the house, Maddie wants to hit one of them. Like I said, she does not want to risk giving up those 3 points at this point.
Wonder if you think here, this is something we'd probably be talking about right now, is you know, you try to hit one of these, try to limit the damage, but just the way the end's shaping up, even if you have to make, you know, obviously if you make this real good, it's, you know, you're in good shape to force or steal, but You could just draw around the centers knowing that, you know, even if you make a hit right here, it's still not a great steal or force situation.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. It'd be, especially since there's kind of two guards there. It's not, I can't imagine it's the end of the world to, I kind of got caught in between there, but I can't imagine it's the end of the world to kind of overbury there and even be open in that port. Port shots are never easy, and that could be one way that you get a miss, which at this point is what they kind of need at this point in the end, is a miss out of Team Farrell.
Interesting.
Now, yeah, rather than peeling that center guard, Cora's deciding to come around it.
Really want to be deep and not least partially buried.
It's an aggressive call.
Very aggressive.
The only worry here is that you slip into the forefoot, and even if you're buried, that you kind of shrink the rings in yourself.
Yep.
Maddie's team makes a good freeze on her next.
Exactly, which even being in the forefoot wouldn't be the end of the world, because as we mentioned, their kind of end plan to send is to make sure that they just post the point, which would do that, but especially that the way the end is right now, that would be a little bit of a disappointment. Now it's really hot. They might get a rub off this guard.
Looks like it's going to hit a big piece and almost roll to a center guard.
And it does, which is
Okay.
it's a little bit of trouble there for Team Farrell now that there's a quality center guard there for Team Bear. There is a port that makes the come around kind of tough.
You like the draw?
There's no
I like
easy
the
shot
draw.
right here. I like the draw if you think you can get through that hole. It looks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could definitely get
You
through
definitely
it.
get
It
through
just
the hole.
looks
It's just a
really
degree of
tough.
difficulty at this point. But honestly, making a board waiter or a run back
about
on
here.
that rock that Anna threw is even more difficult, I think, for a significantly lesser reward. So playing this come around, I definitely support.
Even if you touch the corner guard on the inside, I mean, this looks a little wide.
Yeah, wide, kind of like the same as the last one here. Looks a little wide and heavy. They're switching to plan B here, it looks like, to minimize the damage on the tap on that.
Looks like it'll bump
That's
it.
okay.
Yeah,
For
well,
sure.
you know, they still have, I guess, pretty much, two center guards and an off center guard now. So it did, and they'll tap that to a center guard, and because it's not in the rings, it's not the end of the world. That was a good line call by Maddie there to be able to kind of salvage something out of that shot. Now, Cora's going to have a chance here to sit two, sit pretty well. But as Cora's mentioning, she kind of tries to come around. There'll be that hit and roll behind it to be in a good steal position. So there's kind of, it's pretty tough for Cora not to leave anything. Now, this is an interesting call, kind of getting a lot out of one rock here. If it's a difficult shot to play the tap, because you kind of have to come close to that center guard. But if she makes this well, she's going to roll, cover her own, and promote that stone into the rings in a really good position. That's going to make it tough for Maddie to get one in there without counting it.
Needs to move.
Now, the spot seems to be straightening out. This is the third rock in a row that's just really hanging on everybody. Now, they also all look quite heavy, but
This could be a pretty good result.
and
if she touches it.
doesn't quite touch it.
So now a chance to hit and roll behind a lot of cover.
Good straight draw, but because that guard is so kind of far wide and it's so tight, the draw is pretty tough to get buried. Plus, this hit and roll kind of eliminates pretty much any chance at a deuce at this point. Does want to be careful, make sure that she rolls though. She doesn't quite get that roll. Cora can just roll out to the open and make Maddie choose between conceding to blank or going for the steal with the risk of giving up a 2.
Really straight out here.
And by the way, on sheet 4, I don't know if you were watching, you were talking about the split, but Heath McCormick just made a pretty nice double. Just buzzed by a corner guard, and boys were pretty pumped up after making that shot to go up 2 after 5 ends.
Yep. I would be pretty pumped up too. It's a pretty important shot for them right there. Especially since they're kind of much going to get forced to something no matter what. It's critical that they get their deuce in the odd end there. So now Craig really hard pressed to get his deuce in the 6th end here.
I'm right on broom.
No,
Unfortunate miss right there by Maddie.
It's okay.
She's not even made contact with the stone in the ring.
I think
So
you have to be even because even
it's just
Deuce is back on. Cora could play the same shot she just thought of.
So now one thing, yeah, she's thinking about is,
if I'm not on it,
it doesn't look like she can quite split that and get them both in the rings there, but playing that same shot she just talked about does accomplish a lot.
Really good on blue.
Now one thing though is it's almost too good of a make, because at that point Maddie would literally have no choice but to come around good, and that will put a lot of pressure on Cora on her last rock. She'll probably have a difficult shot for 3 against Steele.
You know, you wonder after that throw, and I just heard her say that she didn't think she threw it that bad. If just getting a little straighter. We've seen a couple. I mean, none of the draws have we haven't been able to bury many guards. You know, we just saw. I think both of them were, or maybe one was Ann and one was Katie. They, you know, wrecked on the corner or couldn't quite get the curl they were looking for.
Yeah, 100%. The last few rocks have all ended up straight. They all looked heavy though at the same time. But I don't. Does that look like a little less ice to you?
I think that's
I'm not 100%
really
sure
didn't
she
see where they
changed
put
it.
it
I didn't
last
see it
time.
either, but it doesn't look like a whole lot less. So, but as we were saying, it looked like Katie's was what we call hack line weight, right in between back line and hack. Credit to Evan McCauley for making that one up. But
I'm sure he's watching.
I'd be very surprised if Evan was watching. This one's, wow, this one's really tight. So not only might go off and try to tap their other one.
I just think it
But
looks
that,
like the
wow,
difference in weight.
huge difference in weight. Don't know if it grabbed on something, because they didn't look like they were sweeping very hard early, were they?
No, I mean, like just before halfway down, they kind of, you know, panicked sweep call, but usually you have some kind of idea that.
Yeah.
missed opportunity there.
Like I said, we
I guess
don't
I'm just like a
necessarily
mile wide
can't
on
hear
the
exactly
side.
what the sweepers are
Sure,
saying,
it's
so we
like
don't
I
get their weight
don't
calls
know
right
what
off
I
the
threw.
bat. But they didn't. It
But I didn't
might have
think
just
I was
grabbed
that
there.
light.
Like you said, Cora does not think she was that light, so we're getting some really
Weight was good.
kind of interesting things out of the ice here.
Guess I
Some
had
little
in
bit of
my head that it was a
inconsistencies.
fast pass.
Perhaps there's like a certain point out there where if you're inside of it, it really snaps, and if you're outside of it, it really hangs. We see that a lot. Kind of a peak in the middle of the 8-foot there.
So a big shot right here for the force or the steal even.
Yeah.
No.
Well, this one's hanging a little bit.
Curl.
Maddie really wanting it to curl, and it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. There could be a possibility of a peaked sheet. Not sure, but now, yeah, Cora's gonna have her shot at blank.
Yeah, I want to keep it in the even.
But she's gonna decide to take her one,
I feel like I'm hitting broom.
and instead keep hammer in the even ends. Now, this is interesting.
Luke, did you just say a peaked sheet?
Yeah, like in terms of like there's they hold like a peak somewhere in the middle of the 8-foot line, so that anything outside of it's gonna run straight, and anything that crosses it's gonna curl hard.
Excellent.
You know, we faced that. We were in Kitchener a few weeks
And
ago,
was I
and
still wide?
we had one side of the sheet that curled out at least a foot more than the other, and
yeah,
you kind of see that and try to look out for stuff like that because you know most sheets of ice have there's spots or something.
We get that a lot on the outsides here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially in St. Paul, on the end sheets, sometimes you get a slant to or from the boards, but it's rare on a sheet 5 like this that you'd have something too much like that.
Yeah, I mean we played on the sheet also twice this weekend.
Yep, and it wasn't too consistent from time to time.
So they get a force anyway. I think Cora may have just wanted the one. Which
Yeah, we're not sure exactly what her final decision was there, if she wanted the one or the blank, but either result is good. Andrew and I, we usually take the blank there.
Seemed like a lot of, with the uncertainty about exactly what's going on, you might want to have the simplest shot.
It was okay, but I think
yeah, I mean it was a spot where we had seen a couple stay pretty straight, so could just play it safe, throw it hard, but give tight ice, and either or is pretty good.
Yep, that's exactly. You just don't want to flash that stone. So, hit and stick, plenty fine result. As we said, a very good end plan for the end was taking their points, and they just did that. So they're going to have a 2-point lead here going into the 7th end.
I think we.
Maddie is going to be really hard pressed to get a deuce here. Obviously, a 3 would be very nice, but she gets a deuce. She has a chance to steal. And
Yeah,
the last
but
time they
we'll
played
go
here
with
earlier this week, what was it? I think
Sorry,
the
sorry.
Cora was
Need to be like
up one without, or wait, up one with, yep, and then Maddie stole in the 8th end and the extra end to win that game. So if Maddie is forced to a point here, which is a very likely possibility, we could see that exact same scenario in this game.
Make sure we're here.
Can you guys see what's going on over on sheet 3?
Barely.
Yeah.
It looks like it's tied.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, it looks like
lot of rocks in play.
back-to-back steals for Team Schultz, and as Luke said, a lot of rocks in play.
All the way hard.
I think Schultz lays 1 behind a lot of cover. There's red is 2 and 3.
Looks like we're on thirds last here for Team Ryan. And looks like they're just trying to clear the front.
Pretty
Like
fast,
Andrew
fast.
said, there's a few reds in the house, but there's that yellow that's shot in a 4-foot, and there is absolutely no clear path to it at this point. So they got a lot of rocks to move in front of it before they're going to have a clear shot for at that yellow stone.
2's great.
Now over on
Two's
sheet 6 here, looks like Tyler George is playing some sort of hack waiter to try and sit 3. It looks like he has to get really
call,
tight
guys.
to the guard in
Really
order
nice.
to get inside enough to lay 3 though. Coach Mark Lazar really
I think
hard
we
on the sweep
peel.
there. Looks like it's a little tight and it's gonna wreck on the guard. So the question is how far it'll push it in. Not quite a disaster there because they're quite safely shot 1 on the pinhole there, but it does
I don't mind
tap
it necessarily,
one of
but
Sean
we're up
Murray's
by
rocks
2.
into the 4-foot. So there is
We
a chance at Sean Murray being able to sit a lot after this rock, but it doesn't look like he has any clear angle at the shot stone there. Looks like a very likely that Tyler George and Bill Stapera will be forced to a point this end.
Looks like he's thinking about throwing it hard off the 5.
Yep.
Into the 4, into the Yellowstone on the button to lay either 2 or 3, or even 1
Yeah,
really.
so it doesn't look like you guys have too good of an angle on this, but he could come. He has a chance to throw really flat, hard in off his own, hit another one of his own into the rock on the button here. So very hard shots, but he's not really no risk to it, and he's quite safely has the 4 secured at this point. So just kind of going for the bonus to have a chance at a steal.
Yeah, we switched it to 5 near here, so folks at home can look on the right side
Yep.
of the screen.
Thank you very much. And
You're welcome. Or, no. How do you say you're welcome in French?
It's actually funny, they don't have a word for it. They think it's just kind of a weird custom to say you're welcome. So you just say thanks, and then you just don't say anything after that.
That seems like that's fitting.
De nada.
Line's good. Line's good. Close. Yep.
So over on this sheet here,
Line's good. Yep. Gotta go low.
looks like a little light on the come around there. So there's already quite a few guards in play, and looks
it off,
like
Ian,
Ali
finish it off.
Howell is going to have a really nice pair
We're
here,
good. That's real good.
and have really good chance
good,
to deuce
Roselle.
at this
Let's pick it
point.
Sean Murray tried to hit and roll over and pop the yellow out, but didn't work.
Yep, hit a little thick, so now he's got a lot of rocks in the house, but looks like none of them are going to count, and Tyler looks like he's going to try to play a really difficult draw weight tap through those reds.
You may
for
be
his
able
2.
to, the thought process, I think what they're talking about right now is you may be able to just throw it hard. I think you can see more than all of that red stone on the right side. And maybe
gotcha.
get all the reds out. I mean,
he could
kind
do
of
it,
looks
yeah.
like the red the deeper red, the
Yeah,
deepest
he
red.
could possibly have a triple for 3.
It may drag onto the 6 rock in the back.
Yeah,
It's,
so
pretty close.
They're looking at the drag effect there.
It does look like there's a lot. You know, it's a huge port, so that'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna run down and switch the mics. I want to hear what they're talking about. Just kidding.
That would be quite the turn of events this ends, where it looked like Sean Murray kind of had everything secured there, and now a chance at 2 or 3 here for Tyler George.
Looks like they're icing it just for like a
They might just be trying to get their 2 here. They
tick,
can make
ticky draw
they
kind of
can-
thing.
Yeah. Yep. So I think they're gonna just play the safer shot, throw about back 4 weight in a draw, try and rub off one of those reds and roll into the full 4-foot. But
Yep, go
Coach
ahead.
Lazar doesn't really like it, so he's coming back down here to give Billy
Good,
some
good.
advice
That's
on
good.
this.
That's good. Real good, Jen.
You know, I don't really think throwing the hit. I mean, we're not in front of the sheet. We have heard that it's pretty wide open. So I mean, there's no real risk to the hit. It's never. They're always getting their 1. So
Yep.
if they think there's a chance, they can play it. But not sure if it's for more than 2.
Yep, exactly. So depending on how that drag lines up, it really looks like it's only for 2. It's just whatever they think the highest percentage shot is for 2, whether that's the softer draw and draw weight, kind of bump and roll, or if it's the hard hit.
Whoa, yes!
And they're just trying to look at the angles here. And back on our sheet,
Whoa!
Anna going for the peel. Gets her
fine.
own as well, which I think they were trying to do. Maybe they're just trying to get lucky and wick and to promote their stone into the 4-foot perhaps, which is a really difficult shot, but
Another one, Jen.
certainly worth trying if you're just going to throw the peel anyways.
So here comes. I'm not exactly sure what weight Tyler will be throwing on this, but I'm sure it's like could be anywhere from hack to back line, probably
Yep.
something like that. Just
Looks
trying to
like a
roll it.
hack weight here coming down. Maybe back line. Marks hard on it early. Looks real tight.
It's close.
Now, on the guard. Coach couldn't quite hold it, so it'll be 1 point for Tyler George in the 6th end. So it's going to gonna be tied. Sean Murray is going to have the
That's
hammer in the 7th end here.
Pretty nice hit and roll over on sheet
I'm
4
sorry about
by
that.
Heath
I
McCormick.
probably am a little, I know I'm consistently
Craig
1%,
Brown is laying 2.
but it just doesn't make sense with the ice.
Or was laying 2. One's frozen, so interesting
I know, that's how much room we took
situation there. Not sure if he was playing the double or just a hit and roll to try to make one in his last, but seems right now that Craig's in pretty good shape to get his 2. I don't know how he's going to get that rock frozen.
Yeah, now
Out
is
of play.
he's at this point in the game, he's looking for a possibility at 3 here, so he's thinking and rolling on top of his already frozen stone. And almost got the double there. But instead rolls to center. So now with both those rocks in the center, it's going to be tough decision for Maddie here to decide to throw up another corner guard or to just go around those and beat Cora into the 4-foot.
I think a lot of this is, as you said, like deciding when to beat them to the 4-foot.
Exactly. And it is a little early in the end. What is it, thirds first?
Yeah, I think so.
So they might want to throw one more guard here. And now, especially since Cora's got the 2-point lead, they can be pretty safe that pretty sure she's just going to peel it. But if she were to suddenly change gears and go aggressive and make the perfect come around the 4-foot, that would definitely change the tide of the end.
Whoa. 2.
And a nice run back on sheet 1 by
Line's good.
Team Rhyme to take 1.
Line's good.
Just ran a rock in the top 12.
Easy.
Onto a yellow in the back 4.
Line's real
Was
good.
throwing it against 2.
Sit
So
down.
made that for 1 to take a
Real
1-point
good, Ann.
lead going
Great
into
weight.
7.
That a girl.
All right, so a really nice guard there from Anne-Marie. And Cora, yep, with her 2-point lead, is just going to elect to keep peeling that guard. Giving up a deuce here isn't the end of the world. You take hammer coming home, but obviously 1's a little better because you kind of have that extra chance.
Thinking, just think about it, maybe going in on maybe skips first.
Yep, 100% there. She's got center, a lot of guards there, and looks like maybe even another one now, yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so now after this, she's pretty much got no choice but to shift gears and go aggressive.
This is where Maddie.
Yeah,
is
this
thinking
is
about
where
coming
Maddie's gonna, because of that, Maddie's gonna
Top
just want
eight.
to beat her in right now. Now, so she did call top 8, and if it is just top 8, Cora should be able to hit and roll off that rock that's already in the house and be shot behind it
Thought you were close.
in the 4-foot. Obviously a very difficult shot. Hit and rolls are really tough on this ice.
Shoot, a bummer on your first.
but if she was able to make it,
Almost caught
it
that
would
back
be
when I should have called
a
off.
really nice shot and
I
could
just
potentially
didn't-
end
I
up
didn't want to
resulting in a
nose
steal.
it, you know.
Now this rock's hanging out there a lot.
Nope, don't touch it.
They have an Allison on the rock here. Yep, and now it just made it break.
Whoa, whoa.
Yep, it just broke, but will it break enough? They're hard on the finish. Get the rub,
That's good.
and I think they're just short.
So that'll give Court a chance to make a hit and roll behind a lot of cover.
Looks like it's barely
here.
out of the
Hey.
rings.
9-5.
She makes a shot, almost have to shift gears from, you know, you've been trying all in to take your two, but if she makes it pretty good, she's looking at a steal. And Maddie may have to start ripping some. I know it's,
Yeah.
you know, you're down 2 and you don't really want to play that way, but
Now-
sometimes you just got to punt.
If she was able to, if Cora does make this good, that rock that Maddie's team just threw and ended up light, Cora's motioning for it right now, but she's going to have that run back, which is she's going to pretty much have to throw it at this point in the game because, like Andrew said, you might want to punt, but there's a lot of guards in there, and they're pretty much going to get forced.
I really hope Blue can like kind of censor me up there.
That should,
Maddie's talking to us. What'd she say?
She said that I hope Luke can kind of censor me up there. I don't know exactly what
I
she said,
didn't hear her
but
say
it's
anything.
so just roll into the 4-foot.
not going well.
9-5.
Well, like I said, if Cora makes this, she's got the chance at the run. She might have to play it pretty close to the guard, but if she makes it, she'll be shot behind the guards, and then Cora will have to make a run herself, and I suppose that's how you could get a chance at the blank. But a little bit of a precarious situation here.
Looks like in sheet 4, Craig Brown will have an open draw, pretty much the full 12 for the 2 points after Heath McCormick
Yep,
rolled a little too far on his last shot.
Yeah, Brown was able to kind of roll in front of his other stone, which forced Heater to play it kind of safe, and as a result, rolled out. Now Brown's got his open draw. And Cora's maybe got a little heavy, a little wide here. So now they're just going to just play the tap.
Save that. Okay.
Or are they thinking of the hit and roll?
Yeah, they thought I was down.
Interesting. Going to play the hit and roll here.
Oh, but it was straight.
Unfortunate break there on sheet 6. Team Murray looked like they were playing a hard peel shot, maybe get some drag and get action, get 2 guards and the stone in the 4-foot as well, and hit the first one thin and just kind of sent the guard into the house, tapped yellow to the button, so now Team Stapera George laying 2 and throwing a center guard.
Yep, so now really good chance for a steal here, but Dean's a little heavy on the guard. They're hoping it's going to sit.
Gone it right away because it was lighter.
Bill is showing off his excellent one-handed sweeping skills and trying to clean that guard without making it go any farther. And it's a little tighter than they wanted, and looks like Team Murray is going to have a good chance at a run. Just slightly overswept here.
Oh, sorry. So it's kind of
We've all been there. This spot's really straightened out. It's hard to call a line here, and especially after it was swinging so hard early in the game, just hard to believe that the ice is that straight. You definitely don't want to flash it.
Go, yeah, and go for
Al's
the roll.
response. Al's response. Just let Ann call it. What? Okay.
Yeah, Skip should learn how to do that. Us thirds are pretty good at calling line, if I must say so myself.
I was a little down,
That's where you
so
cue
I'm
the
solidly
crickets.
here.
Yeah, I don't.
No, this is fine.
He'll start pulling up
Actually,
clips of
it's
me
important.
almost blowing line calls, so I don't really have much to say after that.
I've had my fair share of blown ones too. But now here, I think Gora's just got a barely, I guess, kind of risk-free chance to just roll under here and put some pressure on. The risk here obviously is flashing if you go too hard for the roll, but this is really straightened out. That's right where she let go pretty much. So it's just gonna be. So now normally you'd throw a blank here, but like Maddie just said, they have this split and they could really use 2 points. It looks like a real difficult split though in order to squeak by that
We
yellow.
should
And
probably be safe and go for this.
I don't think that's safe necessarily. But oh, I see what they mean. They think the one's in the
But
house.
just play it safe.
Yeah, that, as I was saying, the split doesn't quite look there because it's such a steep angle. You have to hit it so thin to then get off your yellow one.
Well, I'm almost thinking if you throw a little weight
Some of the
at
consideration
it,
might be is they've had some trouble scoring 2 points this game, and last time they had a really good seal end set up, just couldn't make a couple shots, so maybe.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but just take your 2 now, and then you'll have better chance at the steal.
Yeah.
So now this is a really interesting situation because I think they're not sure if their own stone is biting or not. Maybe it's the yellow one. Our overhead view is.
Thought it was 9-5 again. They think they just.
The camera is a little scratchy, so we're having a tough time seeing. I think it looks like they think there's a chance this yellow stone is in play in the house, so they're just gonna peel it out to be safe.
Backline weight.
Or no, she's playing back line. She's going for this.
Yeah, the video kind of, it's hard to tell, but it doesn't look like they're in to me.
Yeah, so she's saying backline weight. She is going for the split, so she's just got to hit her own red really thin here and then catch the backside of that yellow and squirt into the house. Tough shot here, but as Andrew was saying, you know, they've had a really tough time generating their deuce chances, and especially after the result in the last game, being able to steal 2 ends in a row to win. Not necessarily a bad call here to just go for your 2 now, get rid of the hammer, and go for the steals instead. This looks really close. It's got a curl. You do not want to be outside here and tap the yellow in a better shot. And that might be what happens here.
Yeah, it looks
That's
like
a tough miss.
It'll be a steal and 1. Farrell will take a 3-point lead going into the last 10.
Yeah, so that was definitely the risk of that shot, is taking too much ice, and it just hung there. Looks like maybe across the board the ice is straightening out at the end of this game, which we haven't really seen a whole lot, have we?
No, it's
curl
at the very least been consistent. I mean, we even saw some games where, you know, the finish. Oh, and
we're going to see some handshakes here, and that will be a win for Team Farrell.
Do you think the outside temperature might make a difference? Because it's kind of warm outside.
It could, potentially. I don't think that, like, it's obviously the sun's out today, but I don't think the temperature itself is more than a 5 or 10 degrees. 5 degrees or so different. But, like, there's so many variables to making curling ice that it definitely could. But, you know, I'm also not sure if they scraped before this game or not. That's usually the biggest indication, is whether or not they scraped before or not. And I wasn't quite here to see that.
Yeah, I'm not aware. I don't know what happened there either.
Usually for the playoff games, they're going to take the time to scrape before every game. But not always the case. So, Team Farrell is going to advance into the final and play the winner
Sheet 3.
of Sheet 3. Yep, Schultz and Rhyme is in play. It's going on right now.
It seems like all the matches are really tight.
Yeah. They all are very, very tight.
I think interesting thing is, I don't know if Farrell has been eliminated from an event yet. I think they just had their one event in Kitchener that they were able to win earlier in the season. So they could be going 2 for 2 on championships.
Dave, come here for a sec. So we got national coach Dave Jensen here. Cora, is this her second event, Cora's team?
Yes.
So, yep, that is correct. They have not yet been eliminated from an event. So that means that if they are to win their next game, they are going to be 2-0 for events on the season. Very strong start.
Not sure.
That last shot, though, with Madison Barrett, took a lot of courage to call that shot.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of a risky call. Definitely the easy way out there is to just toss her through the house, or if they thought one of them was biting, you know, just peel it out. But as Andrew was saying, I definitely think their team probably had a better chance at being able to steal the game than take 2 and then steal the game. Going for that call right then and there.
So we usually switch over to a different game. So which game do you want to switch over to? Any of these seem of interest to you?
They all seem of interest.
Yeah.
They're all really tight, important games here. You got a preference, Andrew?
We can do if we do 5 far, we can talk about both the men's games.
Yeah, that sounds.
We can do that for now because they're both quite important in the exact about same points at their ends. But Let's see.
Seems like sheet 3 is heading to a blank in 7-2.
Okay.
There's no real rocks to play. They're just throwing up and peeling out center guards at the moment.
Yep, so we're going to get the classic, one down with scenario, one up without, coming home in that game. So it's bound to be a good finish there. Now, over on sheet 4, Team McCormick is having a discussion here. Looks like they're shot second and third right now with or wait, nope, that's Brownie's red. So they're shot 1 buried behind a center guard, but Brown's got 2 in there. So they're kind of trying to figure out here. Looks like they're not going to have a chance to blank this end, which is what they ideally would like to do here. So they're looking for a way to get their 2 or definitely secure their point.
You know, a lot of times in these games, and it doesn't quite look like it's going to happen in this end in particular, but the team without the hammer in the 7th end, you know, obviously you want to steal because that gives you the easiest chance
100%.
to win, and they kind of go all out aggressive and end up, you know, giving up a 3 and essentially losing the game right there. So Craig's a little bit playing on the edge right now.
Yeah, but he's not going all out. That's the thing. Most good teams have been able to find a balance between having a chance to steal but not quite going all out. And he's got 1 center guard with 2 rocks in the house. So he's in a pretty safe scenario right here. But like I said, McCormick only has the 1 in right now, so it doesn't look like they're going to get, you know, a 3 here, or even they're a little hard pressed for a deuce. So
and it is still pretty early. It's only seconds, probably a second stone. So
yep, Corey is throwing here. So yeah, as Andrew says, really early in the ends, they could probably blast it and open everything up and blank, possibly. But instead, it looks like he's going to play a board waiter and try and roll under the guard. It's a little wide, though, out of hand.
And on sheet 6, I saw Tyler George against 2 stones is playing a draw on a center guard. Didn't quite curl enough, give Sean Murray an open hit for 3, which he did make. So Team Murray has the lead going into 8 by a score of 7-4.
Yep, so that's so that game not quite so close anymore. Team Murray's tossing their first few through the house here, and it's just going to be just got to make their peels at this point. Having a 3-point lead, you can even flash 1 and still be okay.
And I think you know, some people may be surprised that Sean Murray likely will be playing in the final. I mean, you look at this event, you see the 4 trials teams. Obviously, they all made the playoffs and we're all stuck on the same side of the bracket, so they couldn't have all made the final. But you kind of, you know, Sean Murray, you know, he's been around for a while, but hasn't played in, you know, very recently, and not a very high team on the order of merit because he hasn't played. I think this team's probably their first event together.
It is their first event. I actually, this is a freshly formed team here this season. And I actually just liked their Facebook page. It was just starting up a week or 2 ago. So this is a huge success for them to even be this far, and obviously a good chance now to be in the finals against such a high level field here is just a really good start for them. And especially after just kind of taking a break. I know Sean was just kind of doing a lot more webcasting than curling in the last year or so, but definitely a solid event for them so far. And now they're going to play, either assuming that they can pull this one out, play one of the trials teams in the final. And
we can talk about the new men's and women's national championship system this year. If you're in the top 75 of, I think, both year to date and overall order of merit, if you win the national championships, you do get to go to the world championships. So, you know, a team like Sean Murray, who's probably not, you know, playing in quite as many events as some the other teams who have a lot of chance to win points, you know, coming out in your first event and making a final is huge to give yourself that chance to go to the world championships.
And being in the final in this event could do it. Get you top 75. I think it's got to be close. Probably does do it. So that's a huge for them to be able to, you know, have a chance at the World Championships. So we're seeing, you know, a lot of teams this year, because you only have to be in a top 75 to go, we're kind of just giving in a little extra effort. And so there's a lot of, you know, freshly formed teams at these events trying to get points and have a chance. Especially since all the trials teams are going so hard for the trials, it's kind of easy for him to get a little burned out by the time Nationals comes around. So it's definitely a chance for a little bit of an upset, and team that's not normally in the run to have a chance at going to a world championship.
As we look at back to sheet 4, it looks like Team McCormick lays 2, pretty well set up. One's half buried behind a center guard, biting top 8, and the other's in the back wing. So, you know, no real big outs for Team Brown as of now. I think they're just, you know, playing a hack waiter, try to nose, or like a tap back, try to give themselves a chance for a force. But so far, it's sitting pretty well for Team McCormick.
A little bit of a change of events, and this is wide. They got Croy on the high side trying to get this thing to curl. That's going to be a big flash there. So now, as Andrew was kind of saying earlier, sometimes you go a little bit too aggressive and trying to get that steal on. Now Heath McCormick has a chance to either lay 3 or peel the center guard. And now they're going to have another discussion here, as this is a very critical strategy call. They could go for the 3, and if they get a 3, probably win the game right here in the 7th end. Or they could peel the center guard. And if they peel the center guard, you know, Brown's just probably going to, you know, play the slash double or hit and roll and just try to give him the blank at this point in the end. So they kind of have the choice between quite safely being able to peel that and know that they're probably going to just be tied with the hammer coming home, or they could get aggressive and try and go for 3 and essentially win the game here in the 7th end.
I think some of the conversation might be is how buried that Yellowstone top 8 is, because even, let's say, they look like they are going to peel it, which is probably the smart call here. You know, you still, Craig has to make a double to even, you know, force the blank. And even if he does, you know, you'll take, you know, hammer in the last end tied up any day.
Yep, exactly. If you're before the game started, if someone went and told Heater that he would be tied up coming home, he would definitely take it. So that's and Deuce isn't out of the play too. They got 2 rocks in the house, and if Craig misses a hit and roll or a double here, it could still even get there too.
Thought was that if the Yellowstone top 8 wasn't fully buried, that if you just draw open side, you know, Craig will have trouble, you know, burying a stone that won't be accessible either way. Either you have the run back or the tap for 3. You could play a little bit more risky, but you're also flirting with giving up a 1, and, you know, this way that you'll, you know, you the way statistically have a better chance of winning the game.
Yeah. Like as Andrew said, you know, a lot of it just kind of depended on that situation. And because that rock was a little extra bit tucked under the guard, Craig could have kind of came around wide side and got one buried there and taken the whole end away there. So they felt that, you know, maybe if that Yellowstone was a little more open and they had that out of the run, that it would have been a better chance to maybe go for the 3 this end. But instead, didn't quite like it. They weren't exactly how they were set up. So just take the safe call, peel the guard, and take your blank, go on the hammer, or come home with the hammer. But also, they haven't now. Could still get 2 if there's a missed shot here.
Looks like Craig is playing the hit and roll off the 1 in the back 8 to try to roll buried behind the yellow in the top 8. If he makes it, Heath will likely have to play a run back, which is not an easy shot.
Exactly. So he could also be forced here. But hit and rolls are real tough on this ice. Looks like they got Sean baiting on the sweep, trying to hold it. It's over curling a bit. Yep, over curl and rolls out. So now Heater's team can kind of try. I mean, it's can't quite necessarily split the house because it's on the center line, but they're going to do as much as they can. And then Craig's going to have a go at a double here on his last rock probably, and
or the same shot as he just played.
Yeah, or the same shot as he just played, depending on the location there. If they're dead even and there's no double, he has no choice but to just try and hit and roll behind it. But where Heater's calling it is a little farther back, where it's actually not possible for Craig to hit and roll shot behind it. That's honestly what Heater's team's a little more scared of than the double, because at that point Heater'd have a tough shot for 2 and could potentially give up a steal, which is the only unacceptable outcome of this end at this point. So he's going to try and drop back there and leave the double, because Brown makes the double, then they're still happy and they get their blank.
go and take a look at sheet 3. Right now, Team Schultz with the hammer down 1 in 8 is laying 2, both in the top 12 foot with a center, a high center. Neither of the stones of the top 12 are buried, but it looks like Team Rhyme is drawing around their high center. They could think about playing a double here, and you know, all you need to do is force to go to the extra, but looks like they're getting a little aggressive. A lot of it is you talk about before the end their game plan. You could talk about, do we want to play hard for a force? Do we want to play hard for a steal? So looks like they're kind of going for it. And looks like a nice shot here. Shot stone behind the center guard.
And it did just kind of check up a little bit at the end there. So it's only about 2/3 of the way into the 8 foot. Not quite all the way in the 4 foot where they would like it. Kind of like as we were talking about earlier. It's not quite a great steel rock. But they only really need a force.
Seems
now,
like they can see enough of it.
Yeah, it looks like it is about half open or so right now. So Team Schultz is going to try and play some sort of board control waiter at that. And lie 3 at that point if it's a make.
Over on sheet 6, not too much has changed. Tyler George just splitting the house and pretty much just has to hope for a complete miss or a pick from Sean Murray, but it looks like Sean will have an open hit on either side he likes for the win right here.
Yeah. So he's gonna elect the shot on the right side of the sheet, playing the intern it looks like. And he's just gonna have contact for the win here.
Also, we have a lot of action going on sheet 4. Craig Brown, or Heath McCormick, made his draw to the corner on the other side of the rings, and Craig will have the same shot. You know, obviously it's on the other side of the sheet, but the same hit and roll behind for force, or give him a 2.
So Craig feels that he's got a better chance playing this hit and roll, rolling it behind and having that chance at a steal than he does just playing the double. He'd rather. And that's really curling. He's tight again. So it's going to be a draw to paint for 2 for Team Heath McCormick. And it looks like their choice to peel there was a pretty good decision. They get there too.
Final on sheet 6. Team Murray runs Team Stapera George out of rocks and wins the score 7-4. Really good week for both teams. You know, Team Stapera George doesn't play that much. I don't even know what to call them. It says Team Stapera on the website, but Tyler George is skipping. Most of the guys are like kind of semi-retired, not really curling as much anymore. So coming to semifinal, I think they qualified with a similar team last year. So good run for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Team Murray seems like they're hot and playing well. So we'll see how they do in the final against Team McCormick or Team Brown.
So here we go. Heater here, drawing paint for his 2 points, and the boys are on it right away. And now they're taking a minute here just to clean it. They should have backing on their own stone, so it should just be a matter of making sure it's there. And it looks like it is. So that will be 2 points for Team McCormick, and a 2-point lead without hammer coming home in the 8th end. So it looks like Craig is going to need 2 points here to force an extra end, or 3 to take the win.
Will say that I was not at the club, so I did not see. I don't know if you were watching, but Craig was playing Brady earlier, was down 1 without, and was able to steal 2 ends in a row for the win. So, you know.
Yeah, so ended up stealing 2 ends in a row, and both in the last end looked like the ice might have picked up speed a little bit, or been a little faster than they thought, and Craig on his first rock had a chance to bury one, and ended up coming heavy, gave Brady a chance to kind of open things up, and then in the end Brady had a draw to the 8 foot for the win, and maybe perhaps a little bit of a miscommunication on the weight, because they did have backing, and they ended up just curling past the backing and being just heavy, and so Team Brown stole the win in the extra end there to get to this position where they're once again kind of behind in the 8th end.
I switched the video over to 2 near or 3 nears, so you can kind of see 4 as well.
Okay, and sheet 3, it looks like Team Schultz only needs the 2 points for the win, is laying 3.
Yeah.
Looks like it's third's first stones for Team Rhyme. She's throwing a hit and roll behind the junk in the front.
Yep.
Big shot here, but...
Yeah, if she can get a make here, end kind of turns in their favor a little bit, although it looks like Team Schultz will have like the 2 short run backs in their own in the house to get at that stone. Looks they're on it right now. It looks a little wide. It's really important that they get the roll here, and they roll out. So that means it's a good chance for Team Schultz here to kind of maybe try and block off any route that Team Rhyme has at getting behind their center guard.
And it looks like right now for Team Rhyme, you know, end hasn't started as ideally as they probably wanted. So they're not probably going to get a force, or a very easy force that is. So they may just be trying to get a stone that, you know, is in good steal position at this point. So might see them getting a little more aggressive. They played the hit and roll on their last, probably because they didn't have a draw path. But you know, if something opens up, they may really go for it.
Yep. Just put a stone that's in a difficult position on Team Schultz's last, because pretty much a good chance that there will be a shot for 2 on the last rock. So it's just making it as hard as possible to get a chance at a steal.
2 perfect shots on sheet 4 by Tom Howell. Throws one top 4 and then freezes it right on top. And Craig going for his 2 makes it tough, because he's going to have to deal with these stones, and it's probably going to take 2 shots to get rid of it. So.
Absolutely. So we'll see what his angle of attack is at dealing with those stones, whether it's some sort of tap or a hit and roll under the corner here. But like Andrew said, it's gonna take at least 2 shots to make a move on those stones. So he's gonna have to start playing into the house earlier than he would normally like to.
Craig and Sean Bade makes 2 nice shots. 2 corner guards split perfectly, so there is no double for Corey to make right here.
Yep. So a great end from both leads here. And Richie's cleaning it, and it looks good from Corey on the straight peel. And so Craig's just going to throw it right back up here.
On sheet 3, another hit and roll. Similar shot on the other side, trying to roll behind those yellows. May still leave a run back. The Schultz team on their last one tried to play a tap, was a little wide, so changed the angles a little bit, so the run back might not be quite as open. But obviously have to make the hit and roll first, and it looks like this one's a little wide.
Again. Kind of seeing a lot of spots straighten out here at the end of these games. And once again, Team Schultz is going to have a chance to lie 3 and block any path into the 4-foot for Team Rhyme.
So Croy, for the most part, makes his corner, but it will give Corey a chance to make the double. And if he does make this double, barring some unforeseen circumstances, it's probably almost in the bag for Team McCormick, especially. You know, you can try and, you know, move those yellows around and hopefully set something up that you can freeze to later or draw around later. But with how good those first 2 stones are, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So big peel coming
on
here.
It yet. Close. It's really close. And nails it. And he's going to even spin in the rings. Absolute pistol from Corey Dropkin.
So now Craig, he can keep throwing corner guards, but he's got to start thinking soon about how can I place these stones in a place where I might get a jam or something.
That's his only hope pretty much at this point, is that he can get a jam out of Corey, or out of, I guess, just Richie here.
He's throwing the tight corner, going to make a peel out tough for Rich on his next one.
At this point, I mean, it doesn't even have to be cornered. They're just hoping for a jam. So just a very, very tight corner guard. The tighter it is to those stones, the harder it is to remove. So even if it's biting top 12, that's probably okay.
On sheet 3, it looks like, I'm not sure if Team Schultz drew open side or was trying to go around the center guard. It looks like they just drew open side.
I think they were just trying to draw a top house and plug up the route in there, but they were heavy and maybe a little wide and straight, so now it looks like another hit and roll attempt for Team Rhyme. This is what, their third or fourth in a row here. Really need this one. Can't imagine that they're going to get another chance. And you know, a little bit on the light side on this corner guard here from Team Brown. So it should be a fairly easy peel here for Richie. Ooh. And they get a flash. So there's still, as Andrew said, there's still really good position on those two stones from Tom Howell. So even though they got the flash, it's still going to have a tough time generating a deuce.
I would think being it's thirds first, you do need to start
and now is their
stones.
This is this is going to be the time when Craig makes his move. So it looks like he's just going to try and play a backline weight tap on these to sit staggered so that his shooter is slightly on the high side to roll underneath his corner and then tap one of those way back there. But they're also discussing just straight coming around their corner guard for now.
We can mention also on sheet 3 that Team Rhyme did nose that takeout, so Jess Schultz will likely try to hit and roll away. If you roll under, you probably leave Team Rhyme with a freeze on their last, so if she makes this, it'll probably be Team Rhyme throwing a draw around those yellow stones, hoping that they can get something buried and leave Team Schultz just a run back for the win. But, you know, almost playing 100% for a steal right now, so we'll see how that goes there.
Now, not 100% sure what Brown called. I think he called the tap. Yep. Jason Smith here.
Could be a
looks
hit and roll.
A little on the tight side. They got baiting on it. They're calling hard. Looks like they're just playing a tap to sit on the high side, and that is just about perfect. Really nice shot there from Jason Smith.
So they may have a chance to remove that stone, but the jam is in play, and it's a really tough shot. He is just gonna rip the corner.
He's just got a massive change of tide this end, and now they can just peel the guard. And with that rock frozen, they're going to have a chance at some point to sit too. And it's how about they go that is critical. They're going to have a tough call on where to put their next one. They probably just put it back there. But and here now, Dieter's going to stop and think about this for a minute. The next couple shots here are really critical. He's electing, or at least thinking about playing a tap here. Instead of, he feels like he's at a point now where they're a little too far in the end to be able to just peel out and not give up 2. So they're thinking about kind of changing gears and playing a little bit aggressive. Now they're going to have a team meeting here to discuss this really critical shot.
Over on sheet 3, looks like the draw around the junk will be a little heavy. Not sure if Schultz is even going to have to throw a shot on their last.
It's really close. Got to sweep it hard, and
like
they do not.
So we have a final on sheet 3. Team Schultz beats Team Rhyme. Team Schultz will now be playing Team Farrell in the women's final. Not sure. Do you guys know what time the final is? 3 o'clock. So now only game left on the sheet is the McCormick-Brown battle.
So looks like Tom's kind of discussing what spot they would want to hit that redstone if they were to tap it. And that looks like what they like here.
I don't hate the peel of the corner guard.
Me either.
My thought process is, you know, Craig eventually is going to have to hit that stone, that his own red, to get rid of that yellow that is shot. And the hope would be that you do leave a double for Heater on his last.
Yeah.
He would have to make a pretty good shot to get a lot of separation to make a double tough. So
I'd say it's really hard to be able to hit that and then not leave a double, as Andrew was saying. But Heater here doesn't necessarily feel that way, so he's going to play the tap.
You get angles here. It could be tough. Put Team Brown in a tough situation for the two if he gets angles good and promotes his.
It's a little wide right now. It's got to curl. They're having Corey on the finish here. Weight looks like it's about back 4 foot. It's coming down though. Now they're having him go. They wanted to hit it a little harder, but it looks like it kind of accomplishes what they want and brings the angles in favor of Team McCormick, because it looks like if nothing was to happen and they hit that stone on the nose right now, that red does go flying through those two and out of the house. So now Brown's going to have to change the angles back in their favor here with a little tap. Looks like they're trying to play a tap and roll here to get their stone right square in between those two yellows.
So while unlikely though, that tap shot does kind of bring the 3 in play. If you make a good hit and roll, I mean, Heath will be able to pick that red stone out, but you know, if he does jam it, the 3 comes into play.
Yeah, if you peel the guard there, pretty much you just keep peeling whatever Brown throws up. The worst you're giving up is 2. And at that point, you still have the hammer coming home, which is when last end, when Heater decided to peel that guard, which is pretty much what they're saying they're okay with, is to just be tied in the last end. So this is kind of a little bit contradictory to that call they made in the last end here to get this aggressive and bring the 3 possibly into play here this end.
Do know that Heater does like to play. He's more of an aggressive
Yep,
curler
that
than
is for
most,
sure.
so not the most surprising call coming from him, but you know, differing views on strategy. And
I think listening to people talking about curling and the aggressive nature, it always kind of cracks me up because it's so I mean, I've said this throughout the whole broadcast, so counterintuitive that a nice, you know, soft draw is super aggressive, and then a ridiculous amount of heat is not.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time when you see that huge heat, or like on a skips last, it's, you know, a big shot for a big end and an aggressive shot, and sometimes throwing heat can be a bit risky. I mean, a lot of the time you're playing shots where if I just hit it here wrong, we could give up a bunch of points. But at the same time, you know, if you're just ripping corner guards and you know, not keeping a lot of rocks in play, that is a very defensive way to play. And you know, different teams have different success with different strategies, more aggressive, less aggressive, and you know, works with the team identity.
I think it's pretty interesting watching. I think you guys had a couple where there was a lot of rocks, like right in the 4 foot, and you stand on top, and then how you know, like your brain, you can map like, well, if I'm going to hit it here, this one must go that way, this one goes that way, and I don't know how you learn that. I guess it's just playing it a lot, you know, working through the possibilities, and then seeing what didn't work.
100%. It just comes down to experience and seeing it over and over again. And I mean, there's just a couple simple rules you kind of understand, like the drag effect and whatnot, as to how rocks react with each other. But other than that, it just all comes down to experience.
Andrew, earlier in the broadcast, Luke told me that he thought his 8-year-old self as a curler could beat me as a 45-year-old curler.
I can't quite say that.
I think that was like my first year curling, so I don't know if I can say the same thing. I've never seen you play. You could be pretty good.
Yeah, I was just saying that this is my 4th year curling, and I said, you know, but he just said he started when he was 6.
Not quite sure what the desired outcome was there. We kind of got a little distracted there.
Probably trying to hit.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. I don't know if I mean, they were not mic'd up, so I'm not sure we would have really been able to know for sure anyways. But yeah, Heater sitting 3 now. Brown's definitely, I mean, even they're just gonna kill this stone here, but Brown's definitely not out of the end because they still have that corner guard up, and they can even hit and roll off the one on the center line onto the one that's side 4 foot. So they have a few options here, but they're just gonna need 2 really good shots here to bring this game into an extra end.
See, ideally you'd be able to just hit this stone and, you know, get it out of the rings, but it looks like, you know, due to the jams that you're probably going to roll the covering the stone on the side 4. So
Yeah.
Craig will have some stuff to hit and roll behind on both sides. He can even roll to frozen buried on the stone on the side 4 on his next. So it's not over yet, but Heater in a lot better shape after that miscue.
So he's going to try and throw it pretty hard here just to kind of avoid those jams. And he's not going to be, I think he might even possibly be trying to piece out one of his own rocks here, because those aren't really helping him too much, but he just gets it through the hole. I think, yeah, he doesn't look too happy, so I think he was definitely wanting to roll a little farther and then remove his own stone in the 4-foot, because now he can, Craig Brown, if he did want to, could hit and roll off the one that's top 4. Corner frozen behind Heater's, that's right, what Craig just showed here. Corner frozen behind Heater's shooter that he just left there. And at that point, Heater would have to make a pretty good run back to win the game. And this looks like it is the call. Just a hit and roll, the corner frozen here. Now they're just not sure what turn they want to play.
You do have a couple options if you play the...
And what weight. And it looks like he's playing a soft weight.
Probably just board.
Yeah, just a board weight hit and roll here. My only worry is that with board weight, he'll have to hit it a little thinner than he wants. He won't quite be corner frozen to that. But
it could be a slight worry. I mean, can't exactly tell how flat the roll is.
Even if he is corner frozen, it looks, it looks fairly flat for what he's trying to accomplish here. But even if he is corner frozen, it doesn't really change the shot for here or make it that much more difficult. He's just going to have that short run back off the rock he just threw. And if it's a corner frozen, it just makes it, he has to hit that rock on the high side. If it's not corner frozen, he can kind of hit it on the other side too. So it just very slightly decreases the margin of error. Now Sean Baton's on this rock early. They're going hard all the way here. It looks close. Oh, little pause, and
pretty good, but
not sure if he's shot. It would definitely help him if he's shot, but that he was able to get really high on that stone, making actually that run really difficult for Heater. And Richie here is trying to get at a unique angle here to see which rock is shot. Usually a little more common to just stand on top of him like he is now. That looked, I mean, they're taking a long look at this, so it could be really close. But like I said, because he rolled so far on top of that, I didn't think he would get it that flat or that good of a roll. That run back is really hard to remove that red from play. So I think we're going to see a much more aggressive call and just trying to put a rock in a really good position that doesn't leave Craig an angle into the 4-foot.
I mean, there's not much risk on the aggressive call.
No. I mean, there's no risk at any point because there's no 3 in play. So
if he does
the worst case scenario, no matter what he throws, unless he's going to try and tap that red guard in, is just a 2.
If he does throw a top 12, it does not leave Craig with a lot of options to 2. He can throw a bullet off the stone on the side wing 12 and try to roll to the 4-foot, but
so
we're not even sure if he's shot. So
yeah, by the body language here, I think Heater's team thinks that they're shot. Now, it could just, if it is that close, it might just be Brown just trying to have the draw wide side, get a piece of the 4-foot, and then measure those 2 stones and hope. But ideally, he's going to want to have some possible angle there. Heater's kind of taking a look at maybe like tapping his own or something on the outside here, just wicking it in.
I think he was looking at if you could play like, backline weight or something like that and tap the 4 out.
Gotcha. Which, he got barely a sliver of it, so not possible there. Heater determined. So they want this higher because I've seen Andrew make one of these. Craig right now could possibly run his guard in on top of the rock he just threw and get 2 that way. The long angle run back. Andrews was a little cooler, and in a national semifinal, it was a little longer, and it was a run double to get 2. Pretty good shot, if I must say.
I'll take you talking me up any day.
Probably the line call was the most important.
Was a good line call.
Yeah, not too bad. I think we agreed on one for once.
Yeah.
So looks like I think that's the call, huh? Just put it top 12. But I think he'd take the other. He's got plenty of room.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna go top 12, and accomplish two things here. He's trying to block the draw path to the 4-foot and to the possible like bump and roll in off the one he just threw, as well as the angle run back. And it looks light, and Corey is giving it his all here, trying to drag this rock, but it's not gonna get there, and it's not even over the hog line, I don't think. And we're saying it might have picked. Yeah, I mean, so there's a possibility of a pick here. I didn't necessarily see it, but I also can't believe he would ever come up that light.
Yeah, that was about quite a bit.
Yeah, I was like almost what, 15,
I don't
20
think
feet.
I don't think we have picks in St. Paul. We have excellent ice.
Oh. He just pulled the string.
So now it really, really, really matters on which rock is closer. And I mean, I have very rarely seen the guys look at it for this long. So it has to be really, really close. And it might be one of those things where they don't know for sure. So they're just going to have to play that back 4 weight tap, skinny the top house guard for their 2.
I think you have a couple other options.
Yep.
Obviously, you can straight draw and just hope,
Yep.
but I don't think they'll play that. You can angle run the 4 rock
Yep.
with like normal weight and stick the 2 reds. And you could also play the shot they're looking at right now, whereas you play normal firm weight, just try to hit the 7 a little high or hit the 6 a little low, or hit it on our, I think it's on the stream's left. And just touch the 2 stones frozen, get both yellows out, and roll your shooter.
The hard part here is going to be rolling the shooter enough to outcount that rock that's almost full 12. Far on the other side, though. I feel like that's a pretty difficult shot, especially because you'd ideally want to play the in-turn, and that's going to give you a flatter roll there. So I think we're going to see him play the tap. He's really thinking about it. He's looking at that rock on the far wing there to see how easily he can outcount it playing that run that Andrew's talking about. And that looks like the call. He's going to try it. Now, part of me would think that he'd gravitate towards the draw tap in this scenario, because especially if he's not sure that he's not shot already, this shot makes it really hard to just guarantee that you're second shot.
We don't have the best angle.
Yeah, we don't.
It looks
actually,
like the
I
red
think
may be over buried, and that
yeah,
shot's really not there.
Too. And I think he's worried that how thin he'd hit it. It would hit it so thin it would just push the red back up over top, and not push the yellow far enough. That's probably what he's mostly worried about there, is he'd have to hit it so thin that he wouldn't get the yellow going far enough, and he would just push his red further out of the way. So we're going to see probably, firm weight here on this double, and just kind of run and roll here.
Here we go.
And here we go. Looks wide right now. They're not. I have Croy on it. It's got a curl. And have Sean Baton on the roll. Does not get it.
So Craig Brown only takes 1 on that end.
Yeah. So
Heath McCormick will win this one by a final score of 7-6.
Yeah.
Setting up a McCormick-Murray final that will be later today at 3 p.m.
Yep, so certainly this game could be a slight indicator of the Olympic trials a little bit. Obviously both these teams in the trials. Very close game, so could definitely see a tight trials.
Thanks, guys, for jumping on the stream. You did a fantastic job. It's nice to actually have somebody who knows how to talk about curling. 2 people. Nice.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, just go up to the bar and get a beer.
Yeah.
So, cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.